All right, click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join the Discord, Telegram, or support channel through Coffee, the various other links. So I saw this. There's the Joe Rogan story. I saw this clip of. I read the article, and I saw this clip that this lady put out. She's also on Spotify, and she raises a couple of interesting points about Joe Rogan's alleged Islamophobism. Obviously, I can't play the clip on YouTube, but keep in mind everything he said was in context, in context. But she raised a more important point, because the thing with the language is, if you don't like the words he says, then you can go F right off and go listen to something else. Nobody is putting a gun to your head. You don't have to listen to him. I don't listen to him. Nobody's forcing me to listen to him. And you don't have to be on the platform that he's on. So she said basically, she's some kind of musician, pull her stuff off because she doesn't want to be in the with him. And then she also made the point of how much they get paid per song or something. It's kind of a low amount. And that was, to me, the more important issue because, you can't compel somebody's speech. You can't control other people's actions. You can only control yours. So Joe Rogan, the issue is not she's obviously trying to blow herself up on Twitter, fair enough. But she also makes a good point about what percentage of money people take from these platforms. And I agree with that. Artists definitely do get screwed. Why isn't there a platform where they're putting the artist first? You would think that would be something nowadays with social media. You could get a bunch of artists to get behind that and it's not an insurmountable obstacle to create a platform where it's focused on the artists first. The reason there's not a platform like that, and the reason the artists get paid such a tiny fraction of a percent, is because the music industry is controlled by very bad people. Joe Rogan has a right to say any epithet he wants to say. If you don't like it, just don't listen. But I will say that his Planet of the Primates comment, I can't play it, that was legitimately pretty weird. I don't know if he was high when he said it, but it's not a big deal. They're just trying to pretend it's a big deal. I don't believe you. I don't believe for an instant that you're pretending it's a big deal because all these people who are pseudo-outraged of it, they say the same things about every other group on Earth. Everyone does. Stop trying to pretend that you live in some Narnia world where people aren't humans and don't express themselves through all kinds of weird similes, metaphors, and analogies. We're humans, that's just what we do. And the thing is, making the comment about that movie Planet of the Primates, humans are humans. We don't look like sharks or crocodiles. We look like our cousins in the animal kingdom. So while it's kind of a weird comment, it's a reasonable one. People have compared humans to other animals throughout history. All humans, all groups of people have always been compared to other animals. It's not specific to one group. So pretending to be outraged is it's a little disingenuous because we've heard all kinds of different people speak from all kinds of different groups of people. Everyone talks a whole bunch of shit, so don't try to pretend it's just Joe Rogan saying this kind of stuff. See, the other issue is why don't artists push for a platform where an online music hosting service that it puts the artists first? And the thing is, the guy who runs Spotify is literally a billionaire. He's an Israeli billionaire. And there's a bunch of other, these people who run these platforms who are really wealthy. And then you look at the artists, you're like, oh, you're getting 1/10 of 1% of a fraction of a penny. It's like, okay, well, with music, the music industry is kind of churn and burn. They want fresh acts and that kind of thing. You got to get your stuff out there. So you're not going to, if you're just a low or middle tier artist, you're better off on tour and selling t-shirts, and you're better off getting a buzz behind yourself on social media and selling merchandise that you control than selling songs that are, there's so many, they're 99% of everything is going to be crap. And so much of this music is crap. It's just easily replaceable stuff. But there's also no excuse for if the CEO is literally a billionaire and the artists are getting paid almost nothing. It's well, not only there's Apple Music, YouTube Music, Spotify, there's iHeartRadio. There's a ton of different of these streaming platforms. Actually, I don't listen to any. I listen to MP3s the old-fashioned way. Get a VPN and a couple external hard drives, and you'll never need to listen to streaming music. And an old cell phone, and hook it up to a Bluetooth. It's you're done for music. The thing is, one would assume that there would be some bigger acts that would have the money to build a nice online music network. It's not. Maybe 15 years ago, it cost multi-millions of dollars to build something, and it'll still cost millions of dollars to get this thing up and running. But it's not like it was. I mean, technology is pretty far advanced. If some artist got together, who had some deep pockets, the technology is so good right now that it would not take a lot of people to distribute, to run an online service that distributes and monetizes music, because you're using computer algorithms to recommend, oh, you liked 1988's Metallica. Well, you're probably going to like, I don't know, some other band that's very, Megadeth or, GNR of this. You're going to like Iron Maiden. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's these algorithms are going to run all that. This isn't the old days where it takes 100 people to run a company. You can do a lot of stuff with crypto and with crypto advertising and that kind of stuff. But it seems odd to me that the big musicians, it's like, what happened to that little guy who's he was complaining about Snow Eyes and the Seven Dwarfs. And the analogy is like, people in Hollywood, Sacha Baron Cohen, Sarah Silverman, do this, where they get to the top, they climb the ladder, get to the top, and then they kick the ladder out and say, no, now you can't tell these jokes that are spicy. You can't make these movies that are a little bit on the edge. It's like, so you're in the industry for like 40 years. You guys made millions of dollars, and now you're saying no one can come after you because now you set the rules that you're on top. It's like, it seems a little suspect that other musicians are not kind of sticking up for these newcomers. So it is, they are coming for Joe Rogan as hard as they can. And it has nothing to do with him dropping N-words or talking about Planet of the Apes or whatever. It has to do with the stuff he was talking about earlier about how to treat, if you get sick, what your possible treatment. That's the issue that is really at the core. And it's not even the issue of that. It's like, why are people so mad at people who don't do what the government and the media tells them to do? It has nothing to do with health and wellness. It has to do with identifying the people who think for themselves. As carefully as I can say that on YouTube. Like, people who are not on board the narrative, they're not the sheep. So they're the rebellious ones who are thinking for themselves. And these sheep, get very nervous when people think for themselves because it makes them feel bad. They want everyone to be a sheep like them. Anyway, first of all, never apologize to Marxists, to commies, Bolsheviks. Tell them to suck your balls while wearing a Pinochet did nothing wrong t-shirt. Bolsheviks aren't human. They are like a crocodile people. There's some weird hybrid. Don't say reptilian. Don't say reptilian. They endlessly consume and destroy. They're absolutely insatiable. Don't feed them. Don't apologize. It's just blood in the water. They're like parasites that can only exist on your energy. Alex Jones said they are spiritual vampires. Don't feed them any oxygen. Don't grant them interviews. Don't answer their questions. They're not asked in good faith. They're not dealing with you in good faith and fair dealing. They're dealing from a gotcha journalism, which has been journalism for the past, literally, probably the past 40 years. Don't address their concerns. They're speaking for the community? No, they're not. They're speaking for ad dollars and dopamine clicks. Ignore them for the vermin, lice, and fleas that they are. They thrive on selling advertising space for their media sites. We don't need them anymore because you got your own social media website. You got a website. You got the tools of mainstream social media, and nowadays you got alt social media, and there's no shortage of crowdfunding, ways to fund things. Hashtag support me on coffee. You don't need to go through it's like Comicsgate. You don't need to go through the mainstream if you don't want to. There are ways to go around it. And the thing is, with guys like this, people are discovering that they're the source of entertainment. They're the source of content. The media are the vermin that are feeding on people like this. You don't need to feed the media. You don't need to explain yourself in interviews. You don't even need to do interviews if you don't want to, because you have your own platform. You have multiple platforms. You can have different platforms for different things. You have the original source platform. They can just simply listen to your show or not listen to your show if it offends them. Don't give any interviews to these worms who are just going to twist your words. They are dirty smear merchants, lying yellow press. People have distrusted the media for a long, long time for good reason, because they're trying to get eyeballs, and they will do anything, including be very, very dishonest to get those eyeballs. Media is not the media. Like, people have this illusion of the media because they grow up being brainwashed by Hollywood propaganda. And like, well, who's making this Hollywood propaganda about the brave, plucky journalist who sticks up and stands up against big corporate? Oh, it's the same media Hollywood machine. They're making movies where they're just portraying themselves as the hero. Like, we're going into some war-torn, we're going to do this and brave and stunning, and our helicopters are shut down. It's like, yeah, it's all lies. The media's all lies. They're all just vermin parasites. Everything the media tells you is not exactly the opposite world. It's not exactly a lie, but it's always going to be a narrative that they're pushing, which is kind of stuff, you make some comment that somebody pretends to get pseudo outraged over. Obviously, they're not. You say what you said. If they don't like it, they should just, go listen to some other program. Nobody's holding a gun to their head. If you feed the sharks, you're just going to end up getting more sharks. You're not dealing with reasonable people in it. I've seen in the news about how Gina Carano thinks she's talking to reasonable people. And she goes, oh, the media didn't do their due diligence. They breached their fiduciary duty of care. They acted in a negligent. You're not dealing with reasonable adults. You're dealing with these just vermin parasites. The media is nothing. They're just paparazzi. Effectively, it's like, I went to Columbia and got my PhD in journalism. No, these are people who will do and say anything to sell ad space. And the other thing is, they really are into dopamine clicks on social media. They want the blue check mark, and two, they thrive on attention on social media, which is really weird because I don't know. I guess I can't say, but it doesn't. I mean, you can't spend it. It's like, if it's helping grow your brand, if you're a reporter, maybe that's one thing, but a lot of them seem to just thrive on the attention itself, even if it never translates into money. In fact, some people will take a position that doesn't pay a lot, but it pays a lot in exposure, like this social media dopamine clicks. It's like, that's insane to me. You don't need the validation of other people, and maybe you got to be after older than 30 to kind of you stop. It's not exactly caring what other people think, because you don't go walk around the streets in your underwear outside your clothes type of thing, but you don't need their validation. It's like, yeah, the applause is nice, but it's not necessary. Anyway, don't talk to these people. They're vermin. Just tell them to, suck my salty balls, you American bitches. If you remember, I think it was kiss my lychee nuts, you American bitches. It was Mr. Wong from the 90s. It was an early internet cartoon. I think the South Park guys were somehow involved in it, or at least I heard they were. Friggin' hysterical. It's available online now, and it'd totally politically incorrect. Mr. Wong, you can find it. Just search it online. It's freaking hysterical. Anyway, don't apologize to these people, because it just gives them leverage for them to manipulate you. It's just they pull on a thread. It's like, how do you feel about your hateful words? It's like, you're just a vermin journalist. No, your hateful words of the community. Don't you see how they're not talking to you? It's like, if you ever see every once in a while you'll see an interview with John Greenblatt, who's my favorite example, because the guy is such a troll. He does interviews, and he's not talking to the interviewer. He's preaching to the choir. What a fucked up analogy that is. Anyway, where he's just like, he has these boilerplate checklists, and he's just going through the checklist. It's like these people on social media, they're masters of social media, and they're not talking to each other. They're not engaged in dialogue. They're just talking to put these points out there and repeat the points. I've even heard an interview where he was being interviewed, like, this was years ago, and even the reporter said, like, okay, you said it. We get it. You don't need to keep repeating it. And he kept repeating it because he's not talking to her. He's trying to, is this meme pathology. He's trying to brainwash people with propaganda by repeating things often enough. And I will say, nowadays, with the rise of alt social media, people are kind of starting to wake up to this stuff and look at these people like, media is not the media. I don't think it's been the media for a long time. You go back to Mark Twain's writing, talking about other people when he worked in the media, what yellow journalists they were back then. Anyway, screw these people. Pinochet did nothing wrong. And I will see you guys all next episode.